let's have a quick talk about Qlik. So I have inherited a project from an old team member to refresh a dashboard that's in Qlik. Now, Qlik is not my favorite BI tool to use. I prefer Tableau. However, I need to get more familiar with Qlik because rumor is that the company is going to be transitioning away from Tableau, and I don't know if Qlik is going to be our only BI tool or if we'll be using something else, because at the moment we don't use Power BI. We just use Qlik and Tableau at the moment. So I don't know if we're going to solely go to Qlik and that be it, or if we're going to get another tool in addition to Qlik if we move away from using Tableau. But this is a couple years ago when we first started using Qlik, I used to use it all the time to create dashboards for my clients, but I slowly just went back to using Tableau. Anyways, I need to get this dashboard refreshed to update a PowerPoint deck for a client. However, the problem I've been having is that this Qlik dashboard does not want to refresh. It should take 5-10 minutes to refresh. However, this particular dashboard, even reaching out to my old teammate, she's like, it takes forever for it to reload and refresh, and it'll fail. Like, it will just not refresh. So I'm going in and I'm looking at the code that she had in here to refresh the data, and I need to optimize this query because it's pulling data back every day so it's pulling back daily results, and she's summarizing it within the dashboard monthly, but I feel like I need to summarize the data in the actual query so that it's not, because when it runs, it's pulling back 20 million records because the query is pulling back results going through January of 2022. So you're pulling back daily results going back to January 2022. So that's a lot of data, and this is sales data. So that's a lot of transactions that it's pulling back, which is why it's taking so long to load and then ultimately failing because there's 20 million records. And then the summary is being done within the actual dashboard, and it's being rolled up to a monthly level. But I feel like I can optimize the query and reduce the amount of time that it's taking to refresh it. Like, I don't know why she has it done on a daily basis. I just don't have the time to go through pulling up on a call to figure that out. I just know that in the final product, it's summarized by month. So I need to go through figuring out what her query is doing, optimize it, roll it up to a monthly level within the query before we load the data, because I've tried loading it into a QBD to try and make this faster, and that's not working either. It still will not load. So that's what I'm going to be working on maybe this week. I tried working on it last week. Yeah, this is where we are. And sometimes you will have clients that need data on a daily basis, but it's just too much data. Like, you have to have like a come to Jesus type of moment with them. Like, look, it's just putting a strain on our resources. And just imagine, it's hitting the database, which we try to avoid. Like, when we are doing our queries, our company wants us to pull data from a QBD. The QBD has data extracted from our databases so that everyone isn't hitting the database with the query at the same time, which is putting a strain on the resources, which can make it take a long time to get your data back, which this is definitely doing. So I need to make it more efficient in running. So that's what we're going to do. I hope this makes sense. So there's different ways that we can make the query more efficient to run and pull back data faster for us and run better. Because even when I put portions of this script or portions of this code in like Teradata or Toad, it took like 10 minutes just to pull back results going to January 2022. So what I'm going to do is work on the code in summarizing the data, like aggregate the data to a monthly level for one, because in the final product, in the dashboard piece that others would see, it's summarized by month. There is a portion of this data that we receive through an Excel file because it's housed in database that we don't have access to. There are certain, I think I've said this before, but there are certain databases that are secured because it has information that we are not privy to. So we will put in a JIRA ticket to another team that has access to it to pull back specific results from that table. So I got that data and it's all in Excel. That is a part of the script that's being loaded into Qlik as well, this Excel file. So Qlik is similar to Tableau in that you can connect it to upload data from Excel, you can connect it to Teradata, Oracle, all these other databases, so or database management systems you can connect it to. So I need to get the data from Excel into a table so I can upload that because what I want to do with the query, so the code that we have, it is pulling everything back daily and then it joins to the data that is uploaded in Excel. So I want to get the data in Excel in an actual temporary table so that I can join to it from the other query that I'm going to summarize by month. I can join that data to it within the database and within the query instead of trying to join to it while I'm in Qlik. I think that would also make this a bit more efficient. However, there is a separate step that I need to go to in order to get this data into a temp table. So we have what is called a file load automation tool. So we can upload data into a temp table from an Excel file, but we have to format the Excel file a certain way. We have to change it. It can't, well, it's not technically an Excel file. The data's in Excel, but I have to save it as a text file in order to upload it into this table. So I need to work on formatting it because this process is very finicky. It like if one field is blank, like it'll fail to load your data. It's very finicky. So I need to work on getting that done as well. So I'm going to work on kind of making the code more efficient, uploading the data from Excel into a temp table so that I can join the two together and hopefully load that data into Qlik to refresh this final product because, again, 20 million records is what it's trying to load, and it's been over 45 minutes and it still will not load, and I doubt it will finish. And I've tried multiple times over multiple days and it still will not. So it's going to take some time to get this done, but here we are. And then I have to kind of, the difficult thing about working with someone else's code and they've not briefed you on it is that you have to read and interpret what it is that they were doing. I've had no involvement in this project and what they were looking at, so I have to pretty much read and interpret, okay, what was this doing? And for me, that is difficult sometimes to understand someone else's code because not everyone codes the same way. So, and I'm not a coding master, but that's what we're going to be doing today. So let's get started. Okay, so sorry. It's like halfway through my shift and I still have not talked to you guys about what I need to do because a whole bunch of meetings popped up. Got some news about some stuff. My manager is letting me know that they want to have this completed by the end of the week. So I have an official deadline where before I did not. So let's get working on it. So the first thing that I'm going to do is work on I need to create a temp table so that I can get the data from Excel into a table so that I can, when I'm redoing my code, I can join to it instead of having to upload that file into Qlik. So we have this file load automation tool that I need to, one, tell the tool where the data is, attach the file, and then it will load it into my temp table. So before I can load any data into this temp table, I need to actually create the temp table. And with this temp table, because I'm going to create a like an empty table, I have to define the data types, because I'm typically, when I am creating a table, I'm creating it with a select, like create table as, and I'm selecting data from existing tables. So I don't have to go through defining the different data types of each field, because it's already done. These are existing tables. But because this is a blank, empty table that I'm creating, I have to define the data types of each field. So I have to define if it's going to be a varchar, if it's going to be an integer, if it's going to be a date, all those different types of data types. So I need to go through doing that. So I'm going through pulling up the Excel file, so I can, and I'm going to compare that to the fields that were being loaded into the Qlik table, like what is used, because there's got to be like close to 100 columns in this Excel file, and I don't believe we are using all these columns. So I'm going to try and narrow it down to only the columns that contain data that I need, so this table that I create isn't ridiculous. I'm going to work through doing that. So let me see. We have a month. We have, how are they defining? They have two different departments that I need to pull in. I'm looking through the data, like the the calculations that they created, to see what fields they're using, or what fields were being used when they created these calculations. So I have month, so we have customer identifying information, so like the customer's account information. So that's 1, 2, 3 different fields there that I need to pull. And I'm trying to get away from date, because I don't like, again, the final table is being summarized by month, so I'm not 100% clear on the purpose of having date in here. So we have data being pulled 10 days ago, 30 days ago. Okay, so the data is being pulled 10 days ago and 30 days ago. That may be why they have the dates, but they're doing the calculation within the tool, which presents the summarized monthly results to the end user. So again, I'm going to try and summarize that in the code, so I don't have to pull in date, because I don't want transactions by date, which is a lot of data because it's pulling back a lot of records. So I'm going to try and avoid that if at all possible. So yeah, all these other fields that I'm seeing, they all appear to be the same fields: month, date, two different departments that is pulling back data for, and then it has the customer identifying information for that. So I believe I can get away with, let's say, maybe about 10 columns I may need. So I'm going to go through creating a table with the columns that I believe I'm going to need. Then I'll work through modifying this Excel file so I can load the data using that automation tool. And fingers crossed it doesn't fail. I already know it's probably going to fail 10 times before I get the data loaded, because it's just so finicky. It doesn't like people. It doesn't want to load your data. Let's get this started. So create table as. Okay, so I am just, while I'm waiting for this table to create, what I'm going to do is, so I'm going to go through this automation tool and set up. So first it wants me to enter like the database that my table is in, my user ID information to log into it, and then the table name. So I'm going to enter that and tell it that it's an existing table. I don't need it to create a table for me. I'm doing that myself. Yeah, and Teradata is running slow, so I don't know. I'm going to prepare my Excel file and delete the columns that I don't believe I will need to use. My empty table is completed. I'm just going to do a select all from the table, make sure it doesn't bring back anything. It shouldn't, since it's empty, which it didn't. Okay, so since everything is running super slow, I guess I will check back in with you guys when I have more to talk about. Okay, good morning. It's Tuesday. So what had happened was, so yesterday our server went down, so I wasn't able to get any work done. That's why the file automation tool to load the data from Excel or a text file into the table that eventually got created, that didn't happen because our server went down. We got an email notification even this morning. Well, it came back up around 5 p.m. and I know that's because I was working, and I went to run something and it went through like instantly. So it came up around 5 p.m., but even this morning, we're still having some slowness in our data warehouse. So things aren't running as fast as they normally would. So I just have to work with what I can. What I did get through yesterday was that I did go through some of the code for this particular dashboard, and I was able to figure some of it out, go through some of the formulas slash calculations to get an understanding of that. So today I'm just going to continue working on the code and running that to make sure the data matches and the data's aligned. But the first thing that I need to do is, one, I have a report that I update and get out daily. So I need to update that first. And then I also need to go in the Excel data that I mentioned to you guys that I need to load into the temp table. I'm going to change that temp table to just a QM table, so that with temp tables, they expire and you have to recreate them. Whereas with just a regular QM table for us, it stays there until you drop it. So for this Qlik dashboard that I'm working on, we don't update it on a daily basis because we only pull back the data, provide the insights on a monthly basis. So it's not necessary to have this refreshing and updating. However, because of all the issues that I've had with Qlik, I'm going to put this into, instead of doing a temp table, which would expire, I'm going to put it into a QM table, which will stay there until I drop it. That way, all the data is already loaded into, all the historical data is already loaded into the table, and I don't have to recreate it, have issues with it loading as we see the server went down, Qlik was acting up, like everything was just a hot mess. So I wouldn't normally do it, but based on current circumstances, I'm just going to put it in a QM table. I know with our database admins, if you're not using the table, they will send you like an email to drop it, but I'm just going to try or I will put like a calendar reminder to just let myself know, like, hey, go and refresh the data in this table, so that I don't get, nasty emails telling me, drop this table, nobody's using it. So that's why I didn't initially want to put it in a QM table, because it's not being used that often. But again, given the circumstances, I'm going to do that. And then I also need to go and get some more historical data from the Excel files, because I have data for, I think it was April, May, and June, but there's data going back further than that I need to load into the table as well. So I need to get those files so I can load it all together. So that's what I'm going to be working on. But first, let me get this Excel report that I do refreshed with new data. I got the new Excel file in my email. Okay, I had to reboot my computer because everything was freezing and I couldn't get into anything. So now that I've rebooted, reconnected, signed in, I'm going to try and upload. I'm going to format this file, this Excel file, delete the, let me go back to my table actually. Let me make sure I have the right. I need to pull up my code again so I can, for the table that I created, I need to make sure that I delete the right columns for the load. And this is me loading in historical data. So this file is like March of 2023. I wonder if there is, let me go back and check and see if there's more data. Because I already have April, May, June. Let me see what other ones we have. Okay, so I have a total of 13 columns. Let me move this over here. So I have a total of 13 columns that is in my table. So I'm going to, and this has 64 columns in the data. So, 65 columns in the data. So I'm going to delete all of these other columns except the one that I actually need. So I have my 13 columns. So I'm going, and this is while the file is still in Excel. So I'm going to save it as a text file, and the text file is what I will upload, use the load tool to upload into my table. So I'm saving it, text tab delimited. And then for our QM load tool, I think I said this yesterday, I need to select the database that the table's in, and then put in the table name, I need to log in, put in my logins. I already granted myself access to the tables. So I'm just filling out the form that's needed to upload this data into the tool. What was happening yesterday when I tried to upload the data into the tool is that you have the option of uploading your data into a new table or an existing table. And I was choosing existing table because, again, I already created the table and it just kept refreshing and defaulting back to new table. It wouldn't let me choose existing. I believe this was all related to the whole data warehouse issues. Like, it wasn't letting us do anything at all. It's thinking. It's doing the same thing today. What is going on? Okay, so maybe I won't be able to. Let me see. It's doing the same thing it was doing yesterday. It won't let me choose to load this data into an existing table. I know we got an email saying things are still slow today. This may be why. Yeah, it's still not. And I'm trying to select data from my table for the data that I did get loaded yesterday, but it should come back within like a second, and because there's not a lot of data in that table, and it's not. So to be continued.